All right, back again. In our last and third lesson for the week, we were looking at the definite article and how that looks. It's the hey, the patha, and a doggish forte. And I think in that last session, I forgot to mention that the first consonant after the hey receives a doggish forte. Now we have to ask ourselves the question: in the Begay Kapat letters, which have the doggish lean, what happens to the doggish lean when you have to put in that doggish forte? So if you look at 5.3 on page 41, we know that words with the initial Begay Kapat consonant will appear with a doggish lean, as in bath, house; Derek, road; Gabor, warrior. So when the definite article is added to these words, the doggish lean is replaced with a doggish forte. And the following examples that you can see on page 41 at the top of the page there, they show that nothing really changes in the spelling, though the original doggish lean is now a doggish forte. They look just alike. So basically your doggish lean becomes a doggish forte, but they look just alike. So let's look at this. In the indefinite noun, you have Beth, and you see your doggish lean there in the Beth. Then when there's a definite noun, you see the hey, patha, and now that's a doggish forte. Ha Beth, Derek, ha Derek, Gabor, ha Gabor, and that kind of explains that situation. So in your Begay Kapat letters, the only thing that changes, it looks the same. The only thing that changes is that what was once a doggish lean in your Begay Kapat letter now becomes a doggish forte. And that pretty much sums up the rules for that. Now, if you'll go on and look at the article and initial guttural consonants, an important part of the definite article is the doggish forte that's inserted in the first consonant of the noun. But we know that gutturals cannot take a doggish forte. They reject it. So what happens when the initial consonant is a guttural or a resh? There's a compensatory lengthening. Hebrew loves to do compensatory lengthening. So you're going to see compensatory lengthening as a very common event. So your ayin, your resh, and your aleph, the rejection of the doggish forte results in this compensatory lengthening. This means that the patha, which is a short a vowel of the definite article, it lengthens to a comets, which is a long hey. In this way, the definite article compensates for the loss of the doggish forte by the lengthening of its vowels, thus compensatory lengthening. And the definite article is still easy to identify, and you can look at 5.4 and see how that works. Ish, which is translated as man, you see the hey comets instead of the hey patha. And of course, the doggish forte is missing because your gutturals can't take a doggish forte. Then Isha, woman, becomes Ha Isha. Resh becomes Ha Resh. Ir, city, becomes Ha Ir, the city. Now, when you're dealing with the hey or the te, when it's the first consonant of the noun, the rejection of the doggish forte results in what's called the virtual doubling. And virtual doubling is the rejection of the doggish forte without the lengthening of the patha vowel. For example, the Hebrew word for palace is hakal, and with the addition of the definite article, it is rendered hakal. So you see the doubling ha, or hey. With the addition, it's rendered hakal. Another example is tama, which is wall, and it's rendered hatama, the wall. And notice how the hey and the te reject the doggish forte, but the patha vowel does not lengthen in either example, and this is a virtual doubling. Now, from time to time, you'll come across what's referred to as an irregular sagol vowel. Before nouns that begin with an unaccented ayin, hey, or te, the definite article appears with a sagol. That's the short e, and without the doggish forte. So look at that in number 3 on page 42 and be familiar with that. These rules are typically exceptions and not the standards, but if you run into them, I do want you to be familiar with what it is that you just ran into and to be able to deal with it. These rules are not hard. They're not complicated. It's just going to take you reading, rereading, and doing your workbooks and making certain that you have you have worked your way through those and that you have done those correctly. So that's it for the definite article. And let me go ahead, I think I've got enough time here. Let me go ahead and do the conjunction. The conjunction wa in the vocabulary for this lesson, it's the word it occurs more frequently than any other word in Hebrew, and it's our conjunction, or we'll translate it man. So when you have the wa there and your word, you're going to add the conjunction and to your word. And before most consonants, the conjunction is going to appear just as it's spelled in the lexicon, and it occurs this way about 50% of the time. So about 50% of the time when you see the conjunction, it's always going to look the same. So it's not going to change. There's not a whole lot of rules associated with it. And again, a huge clue, just as I told you, when you see a word that's prefixed with a hey and you're not familiar with that noun that starts with a hey, you just immediately should think, I'll bet this is a definite article. So when you see a word that begins with a wa, it should automatically ring into your head, wow, I'll bet that this is the conjunction. And always check that out as well. There's a couple of circumstances when the conjunction appears as a shurik. It's spelled with a shurik before the consonants beth, mame, or peh, and these are the so-called labial consonants. This is sometimes referred to as the bump rule because the word bump contains the transliterated values of beth, mame, and peh, BMP. So note the following examples that are given in your book, and they're going to lose the doggish lean when the conjunction is prefixed there with that charade. So let me stop there. That gives you pretty much all the information that you need to take down chapter 5 and let you have a chance to go do your workbook assignments and just figure this out. All right, have a great day, guys.